Welcome to the Small Business Voice with Justin Duncan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. We are here every Saturday to highlight local entrepreneurs and small business owners to learn how they succeed to build their business from the ground up, what are their challenges, and what are their victories. And the purpose of the show is to put a voice to local business owners and entrepreneurs. So when you contact them for their services, you have an idea of who you're talking to. When you buy from one of our guests, you are buying from a local business. Jeanette, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Celeste, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm excellent.
Today, we're talking, our Jim Liberto is going to be our guest later on. He's going to be coming in next segment, and we're going to kind of talk about reverse mortgages.
Yeah, this whole month we're, featuring
Older Americans Month. So there's a lot of people that maybe have a lot of equity in their home. Like there might be some people that actually maybe have maybe 40 years of equity in their home.
Yes, absolutely.
And, it might be the time they might not want to move, and maybe they need additional income, I guess.
Sure. Maybe they need to augment their Social Security. Maybe annuities and things like that are running out.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah, we all want to live long, but we don't want to live so long that we're eating cat food.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Well put, Jeanette.
Yeah. So what experience have you had in that so far? Like, have you helped people with reverse mortgages?
I do partner with Jim Liberto with a reverse mortgage. I'm not a lender, so of course I would refer all my clients that are interested in that type of a product.
Okay.
But there are some great products out there. I think reverse mortgages kind of have a bad rap. It's not just about getting a monthly stipend. You can do other things with a reverse mortgage. And again, I'll of course defer to Jim on that topic.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I remember talking with my parents, when they were deciding to sell their home, and there was a lot of stuff going on I wasn't aware of at the time, and I mentioned a reverse mortgage, and they shot me down because they talked to other people,
Yes.
and who necessarily aren't the experts, but if somebody says something bad about it, they're like, well, I heard this, so I don't want to do that. But now we're here to talk about, the benefits of it, and, it might be a right thing. It might be the right thing for you. I mean, it could, and also it might not be the thing for you, but
I'm thinking, especially I think that the reason people get reverse mortgages is probably the money without having to maybe sell their homes. And that's the whole thing. Celeste last week was talking about how scary it is for older people to sell their homes. And if I look at just for myself, if I sold my home, and yes, then I would get that money, but then I'd have to go and find another place to live, and I don't know who my neighbors are. Right now where I live, I know my neighbors across the street, next door to me. I mean, it's a nice community. I know what happens after dark, that the neighborhood all of a sudden doesn't turn into, because where you live and who you know and who you're surrounded about makes your home just as much as the home itself, with the roof and the windows and everything else. So I think like a reverse mortgage, let's say for myself, would possibly be property taxes keep going up. Having to maintain a house keeps going up, and be able to maybe stay in the home and still, and that's what I want to know. What happens to like the equity and things like this?
Yeah.
So I have lots of questions. So he doesn't know it yet, but there's going to be lots of questions of why not, and not just what all the great things might be about it, but what are the downfalls, and maybe hear some stories.
I think it's like to be aware of certain things, and I think that's what we are. Is like you need to be aware of this.
One of the first things that we should think about, especially when we have an aging senior, is the safety of the home. Are there several flights of stairs? Do we have some stall showers? How are they going to age in place? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of one of the first things that I discussed with a senior that wants to age in place.
Because not every senior has a giant house, so but there might not be downsizing, but they're sitting on equity.
Well, correct. Really quick. So when my parents moved in with me, they were with me for a couple of years. But my dad had to use my shower because it was a walk-in shower, and in the hallway bathroom, it was a tub, and he couldn't step over that. or he didn't want to anyway. So it was easier
Tubs
for
are
him
slippery.
it was easier for
stepping
him just to,
into that tub if there's a slip and fall, it can be a very severe accident.
So you're listening to Small Business Voice with Justin Duggan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. And we have Celeste Zupancic, who is our sponsor for the month. She can be reached at 209-489-7312. And just to let people know, you work with Homesmart PV and Associates.
Correct.
And you can email Celeste at celeste@sellyourhomes.com. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
a lot of things when we're talking about seniors also, my kids are always going like, that's the nice thing about having 7 kids. But they go, Mom, you can move in with us. But of course, Mom, sell the house, then move in with us. But a lot of times in your home, like you were saying, it's you need to upgrade it for that senior. But also, if someone does sell and they don't want to have to move into a place by themselves, but the kids are saying, Mom, we'd love to have you come, but our house is too small. I know that some people will end up, the parents sell the home, and then with their kids, they buy a larger home for the entire family, buy something that maybe has that mother-in-law, section. So, when it comes to becoming a senior, if you own a home, the nice thing is, like we've talked about, it's one of the biggest investments. It's some people's retirement. But if you keep staying in the house and paying taxes and utilities, then all that equity, you can't use it. So owning a home, I think, is fabulous because you have an asset and you can do a lot of different things with that asset. And so I'm so glad that we have another expert on to ask all of those questions for, what you can do with maybe a reverse mortgage to find the perfect situation for your older parents.
Yeah. And, every situation is different. For us, it was, my parents lived up in LaGrange, and that's not, that was basically 45 minutes at the very least to get to the nearest store, the nearest hospital, nearest doctor. They don't really have anything up there. And like if it's a holiday, like everything's shut down. So for me, it was in my best interest to get them
to have them closer.
Well,
yeah. And theirs, Justin, to be close to you and have your support when they need it.
Yeah, I say it was in my best interest because I was worrying about them, and in case something did happen, like there's wildlife there, you just never know,
and if they did want their own place, and let's say that you have elderly parents that are renting, I'm wondering, can you get a reverse mortgage and use that money to purchase a condo for your parents? So let's see what the restrictions are, et cetera, because maybe it's not. If some people go like this, I don't know if my mom should get a reverse mortgage or my mom rents, there's no such thing. But I don't have the money and she doesn't want to move in with us. She's scared of the dogs or, and she wants her own place. But that she's just not making any. You're forking out money every single month. So let's, this should be an interesting discussion.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So we have Jim Liberto coming in to talk about reverse mortgage.
He's a mortgage planning specialist.
Yeah.
And he can answer our questions.
Well, we have a lot of questions. I think there's like a lot of misnomers about.
Well, here we have the 2 specialists: selling your house, taking the equity out of your house, or maybe being able to use some of the money in your house to, I think you could upgrade your house to move your elderly parents in if they don't have a house. So we'll find out what the laws are, tax consequences, maybe taxes on a reversible mortgage.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to have Jim Liberto and Celeste Zupancic on the Small Business Voice on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us. This is Justin Duncan from the Small Business Voice. And what does every small business need? A website. That's why the Small Business Voice used Sisbro Innovation to build its website. If you're a small business owner looking to grow your online presence, attract more customers, and actually see results, then you need to connect with Sisbro Innovation. They've been helping businesses thrive for over 10 years, offering affordable websites, SEO, Google Ads, social media marketing, and reputation management, all this without breaking the bank. They were also voted Best of 209 for digital marketing in 2024 as well. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level, reach out to Sisbro Innovation today and see what they can do for you. And tell them that Justin from the Small Business Voice sent you. Visit sisbroinnovation.com or call them at 1-800-291-9102. Connecting local businesses with local families. Welcome back to the Small Business Voice with Justin Duncan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. Reach out to us for more information about our featured guests by texting 209-222-8846, or you can always email us at info@smallbusinessvoicemedia.com. So today we have Celeste. She is sponsoring the whole month. So Celeste, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And we have Jim Liberto in. You're with Geneva Financial. And Jim, you specialize in reverse mortgages?
I can do it all, but my passion, Justin, is reverse mortgages for sure.
So I guess we can start with what are some of the misconceptions about reverse mortgages?
Some of the things that I've heard over the course of years is that the house transfers over to the bank. It does not happen.
Okay.
I've also heard that when people that live in the house die, the home reverts back to the bank. That does not happen. It goes to the estate of the deceased people, and they can sell the property, they can refinance the property, they can do whatever they want to as long as they're guided in the right direction.
Okay, so I think that's what's probably bringing up a lot of it is, let's say that your kids think they're going to get the house, but you can't stay in the house any longer. You can't have the retirement that you want. All your money is tied up in the house. And like when some people would have asked me maybe 10, 15 years ago, you're self-employed, you don't have a retirement. I said, I have this house. The house is going to go up. I mean, we built the house, $200,000, and now the house is like $750,000, right? But what they are then nervous about is how much. Let's say I have about $500,000 equity. I have to refinance, but that's not the story. But if I have $500,000 equity, how much of that can I pull out? Let's say I wanted to have my retirement years travel, but still be able to keep that house.
Sure.
So how much can I pull out?
There's kind of a sliding scale. The amount that you can borrow is based on your age. Somebody who's 62, which is the minimum to get a reverse mortgage, is going to qualify for less because they're expected to live longer than somebody who's 75 or 80. So it depends on the age of the person who's borrowing and the equity in
and
the
that's
property.
Because they get a certain amount each month, or can they pull out a lump sum?
It's based on their life expectancy. So somebody who is 62 is expected to live to 95, basically, where somebody who's 80 is also expected to live to 95. So they'd only have a reverse mortgage for 15 years or whatever that case is. You're never kicked out of the house if you live to 105 or 110. Obviously, you can still collect Social Security from Dodge. So, Dodge says you can get it till you're 120. But the deal of it is that you can live in the property for as long as you are alive and you can stay in the property. So, again, somebody who's 62 has a very long expectation of being able to stay in the property, where somebody who's 80 does not have quite the
so that's your
expectation.
So do you kind of work out the formula? Like my house has gone up from 200,000 to 750,000. But
so somebody who's 62 basically is going to get about 45% loan to value. So if your house is worth 750, you are going to get about 45% of that. So you would get about 375 minus the 200 that you owe. You'd probably have access to about 175,000.
And so you can get a reverse mortgage, pull money out, even though you owe money on your mortgage.
Absolutely. In fact, most seniors just want to stop making the payment on their mortgage payment, stop making their mortgage payment. So that's what we do most of the time. You can also get a line of credit depending on the equity that you have. Like you don't have to touch that $175,000 in equity. You can get a line of credit. So if you wanted to go travel, or you needed medical expenses to be paid for, or you wanted to buy a new car, you have access to the equity in your home based on a line of credit. If you don't use it, you don't pay interest on it. It stays there for your estate. You can also turn on what they call a stipend, where, again, depending on your age and how much money that you want a month. Like a pension, you could get $300, $400, $500, depending, again, on your age and life expectancy. Again, somebody who's 62 is going to get less than somebody who's 80 because of their life expectancy, but you could get $300 or $400 a month extra. That's tax-free. Reverse mortgages are not taxable consequences. They're borrowed money. It's not income.
And you still have to pay property taxes, though, right?
You still have to pay the property taxes, and you still have to pay the fire insurance, and you still have to maintain the property, and you have to live in the property for the majority of the time. So you have to, you can have another house in Arizona as long as you stay in your primary residence for 6 months and a day every year, and you put that on your taxes as your primary residence, you're golden.
What can you use the money for?
Anything that you want to. You can pay for your grandkids' college. You can buy another property. You can maintain your property.
See, that's interesting. Buy another property, because when you think about it, all your assets are tied into your house, but you can't get, that money for a lot of people unless they sell the house.
You listen to Small Business Voice with Justin Duggan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. We have Celeste Zupancic in studio. She works with Homesmart PV and Associates, and she can be reached at 209-489-7312. And she can be emailed at Celeste at SELLS, yourhomes.com. And she is on all social media platforms. And Jim Liberto, he is our specialist on reverse mortgage, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So he can be reached at 818-723-7398, or you can email him directly at jliberto@genevafy.com. And you have a Facebook page, a business Facebook page, Geneva Financial, or Jim at Geneva Financial.
You Google me, you'll find me. I'm all over the place.
All right. So perfect.
All right. So as a business owner, and I'm not planning on going into any kind of retirement home soon, I'm always thinking, we have the realtor specialist, Celeste, here today, and then we have you, Jim. If I were to, let's say, pull out $175,000 out of my equity in my house that I can't see unless I sell it, or let's say refinance it,
on the forward mortgage.
Then now I have a bigger mortgage, etc. Could I take that $175,000 and could I put it into a condo that I rent out? So now I have income coming in from what I purchased from the asset that I had.
You absolutely can do that. In fact, my parents were fairly well off when they passed away. They owned some apartment buildings, and their house was almost paid for. Had I been as aggressive in reverse mortgages 20 years ago as I am today, I would have convinced them that they should get a reverse mortgage on their home that was almost paid for and buy 2 or 3 different things that my brother and I would have been able to inherit more stuff. I mean, all boats float to the highest level, right?
My asset is not earning me any money at all. The only thing I can think about is that when I die, my house will be worth more. But if I could make the equity in my house work for me, getting another property, I mean, that I think is a game changer as far as, reverse mortgages are concerned. The only way to get that money is to die or sell and have to start all over again. So, I mean, I think that is great. How many people are doing that? I don't think people are aware.
Understand it. And you see,
again, seniors don't really realize.
Mm-hmm. Seniors are very conservative.
Yeah, the different products of a reverse mortgage has. I don't think people realize that.
Because basically, okay, so now can you pay off that reverse mortgage? I'm thinking like as an investor, if I pulled out, let's say, for example, $200,000 that I had, let's say that I qualified for it. And I turn around, I know Celeste can find me a condo for $200,000. I'll be able to rent that condo if they allow tenants for $2,000, let's say, a month. And could I take that $2,000 since I now own the condo outright and pay off the reverse mortgage?
You can make payments on a reverse mortgage. Most people don't or don't want to. They can take that $2,000 and travel or buy a car.
So I can have an income.
You can have income.
But I can also reduce the amount because it does touch your equity.
It does.
Yes,
absolutely touches your equity.
Especially for someone, I think this is where people think that reverse mortgages get a bad rap. And we will talk about that. Also is that mom owns the house outright and then she went and got a reverse mortgage. And now that mom died, we can't get, like the house to keep that house that we wanted to keep it. We have to qualify for a mortgage.
A forward mortgage, yeah.
Exactly. And people are having such a hard time qualifying. And they were thinking, I hear people, which I think is terrible. They're saying like, why aren't you, getting your own house. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get mom and dad's.
There's a lot of not enough education out there about the process. There's a lot of information, and people hear, we have a lot of experts out there, experts about nothing, and they hear certain things and they take that as a word of gold. But like you said, you're a specialist, so you're here to educate people. And I think the biggest misconception is people lose their house at the bank, and that's not true at all.
It's not.
One thing we always have to consider is, when we're talking about reverse mortgages, is how are we going to enrich the senior's life? How are we going to make it easier on the senior so that they have more money to move into their golden years? That's really,
you see
something
those
that
bumper
we should always have on the
stickers.
forefront.
We're spending our children's inheritance on that $180,000 more home that's driving down the street.
Yeah, we want to enrich the senior's life.
Okay. So we're going to get more into that next segment. If you need to reach out to Celeste Zupancic, she works with Homesmart PV and Associates. She can be reached at 209-489-7312. Or you can email her directly at Celeste at SELLS, yourhomes.com. And Jim Liberto, you're our reverse mortgage specialist. So if maybe something this speaks to you about reverse mortgages, Jim's the one to talk to. He can be reached at 818-723-7398, or they can email you at jliberto@genevaphi.com. So when we get into the next segment, we're going to talk more about reverse mortgages. And,
I think people understand, elderly people that need money. But I think there's a lot of other people out there, like myself, equity in the home that I can't touch until I either die and give it to my kids or...
Yeah.
Stay with us on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app.
This business tip is brought to you by Sisbro Innovation. I'm Catherine Ramos, and today we're talking about ongoing learning and improvements within your business. The business world is constantly changing. Stay informed about new trends and best practices. Regularly review and update your business strategies and operations based on new information or changes in the market. And remember, do not be afraid to train your replacement. That only means that you're moving on to bigger and better opportunities. Sisbro Innovation, where we help local businesses connect with local families. For more information on this tip, check out our blog at sisbroinnovation.com. That's Sisbro, SISBRO, innovation.com.
Welcome back to the Small Business Voice with Justin Duggan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. Reach out to us for more information about our featured guests by texting 209-222-8846, or you can always email me at info@smallbusinessvoicemedia.com. We have Celeste back with us. Celeste is our sponsor for the month. Celeste, again, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for having me.
So, Celeste, we reached at 209-489-7312, and she can be emailed at celeste@sells, SELLS, yourhomes, HOMES.com.
Perfect.
Jim Liberto is our guest. He's a specialist on reverse mortgage.
Justin, Jeanette.
Yeah. Thank you. And then, Jim, people can reach you at 818-723-7398, or they can email you at jliberto@genevaphi.com.
A lot of people think about reverse mortgages because the elderly person, quality of life, like Celeste said, it's meant also to make the life of the senior better. It's also very emotional to try to, leave your home behind. Sometimes kids are like, oh, move in with us, etc. But a reverse mortgage can do some things such as they can stay in their home without having to, the first one that I hear about.
A mortgage payment. Yeah, they don't have to make a mortgage payment.
So how does that work? So let's say there is a equity. Okay, so the house is worth $750,000. Now the new balance on the house that you owe the bank is $350,000. Does the reverse mortgage pay off that mortgage?
It does. So the reverse mortgage is going to be a first mortgage across the board. You just don't have to make mortgage payments on it. You still have to pay your property taxes, and you still have to pay your fire insurance, and you have to maintain the property.
So you will always owe $360 when you
reverse mortgage, as opposed to a forward mortgage. A reverse mortgage gets bigger and bigger and bigger every month because you're not making a mortgage payment. So if you borrow the full $350,000, you're being charged interest. The bank is making interest. You're just not paying it. So the balance will get bigger by $2,000, $2,500 a month for the life that you're able to stay in that property. But your home is also going up in value as well.
But is it, so now when I'm looking at those numbers, I'm a numbers person. So so even though the house is, let's say it stays the same, but there have been places where home prices go back down. And let's say someone like myself, and I live to 100. And when we're talking interests, so that first year, $25,000 is added to the 350. Now it's 375, but now the interest on 375 is going to be higher because now it's a higher amount of money. How many years before you end up, what happens if a person ends up upside down? I think this is where people come in and say, my parents lived forever. Do they now owe on that?
If you're lucky enough to live to 100, you may be upside down, and but you've gotten to live for 40 years without having to make a mortgage payment. If in fact that it is upside down, your estate, your kids and whatever can basically buy the property back from the bank at 95% of the appraised value. You don't have to go through a realtor, although, there are great realtors.
If they say, forget it, I didn't even know mom did this, does the estate owe the money?
The estate does not. What happens is when you first start a reverse mortgage, you pay for a basically principal mortgage insurance. It's a one-time charge, and that would prevent your estate from owing any money if you were completely upside down. Very rarely in this market does a property become upside down because, again, property values are going up, and the interest that you're accumulating is slower than what the growth is typically of the property accumulating. But if it happens, like when we had the 2008, 2009 mortgage meltdown, and a lot of properties were worth 30% of what they originally were.
Yeah, let's not talk about 2008.
The estates of our seniors never had to pay a penny in regards to the mortgages because principal mortgage insurance took over whatever deficit that there was.
So that's significant peace of mind. Yeah. Sorry, Jeanette.
No,
that's significant peace of mind for children and the parent that, we all want to pass on a legacy. But the bottom line is if we have seniors that, are having a hard financial difficulties, this is a good resource for them.
We want our seniors to have as much gold in their golden years
Enriching
as possible.
our seniors is really what this is about.
Right.
Or we always hear also, it's like, my kids are well off on their own. Have you heard those commercials?
Yeah.
They don't need our life insurance. But same way, if your kids are well off, they own their own homes, my kids are grown up, then you could get that reverse mortgage and you don't really care. It's like it'll be less for the kids.
They shouldn't care. They should be very happy that you're getting to do what you want to in your golden years.
So you're listening to the Small Business Voice with Justin Duggan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. Today we have Celeste Zupancic in from Homesmart PV and Associates, 209-489-7312. And she can be emailed at celeste@sellsyourhomes.com. We have Jim Liberto. He is our reverse mortgage specialist. He is with Geneva Financial. He can be reached at 818-723-7398. And he can be emailed at jliberto@genevafy.com.
All right. Next question that pops into my mind. If I was a listener to the show, I can either pull out money by refinancing or let's say HELOC and things like this. And those come with their own interest rates. If I refinance, pull out some money in between, then I know what the interest rate is on that money. If I get a HELOC, it usually ends up being a little bit more interest rate. If I were to get a reverse mortgage, because I'm thinking about purchasing a rental property, what are the interest rates comparable on a reverse mortgage versus your regular mortgage?
Interest rates typically on basically it's called a home equity line of credit is a little bit higher than basically what the 30-year conventional or 30-year FHA loan is. Right now it's about in the sevens, mid sevens or something. So not terribly more expensive, but it is a little bit more expensive. But the benefit is you don't have to make any payments unless you want to. You can actually do some financial planning. If you buy another property and you know that down the road you're going to have capital gain or whatever, you can you can pay off or pay down the reverse mortgage from the sale down the road of your condo or whatever. And interest is always calculated first. So you can have some write-off if you want, if you need. They're great tools for financial planning for our senior citizens as well. Lots of reasons to do that. And something else that I kind of wanted to talk about is if somebody has some money, let's say they sell a house in San Jose and they've got a couple $100,000 cash, but they can't find a house that they would want here in Modesto for a couple $100,000. Well, they could put down a couple $100,000 and buy a $400,000 property they can have their kids and grandkids and family events at, and again, never have to make a mortgage payment because, again, you're getting about 45 to 50% loan to value on your home. So somebody with $200,000 cash after having sold their property in the Bay can come and buy something that they would be very happy to have their kids and grandkids come to.
And then,
Are you? I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was going to say, and just to reiterate, so you have to be 62 years.
62 years of age. You have to live in the property, maintain the property, and pay your taxes and insurance.
Okay.
So if you bought a house, I'm looking here. So you sell a house, you have a lot of money, and now you go and buy a nice, even bigger house, a nice ranch, some land, everything else, and then you do a reverse mortgage. You never have to pay a mortgage payment, right?
Correct.
Just live there for the rest of your life. That doesn't sound right.
Sounds like we need to sell your house, Jeanette, or put you into a reverse mortgage.
Well, if I had it my way, I'd have a complete compound and buy 50 acres, put 7 houses on there, a clubhouse
Celeste
in the
can help
middle.
you with that. Celeste can
so
help you
all
with
my
that, for
kids
sure.
can move in, and you always know who your neighbors are. And
Yeah, see, I don't think that'd work with me. I mean, my kids love me, but they moved out. Like my son was 21 and hasn't looked back, and now my daughter lives in San Francisco too. So I don't think they would. I'd have 2 vacancies. So, in fact, it wouldn't work out good for me because then I'd have like some friends that would say, "Hey, you have those spare houses," and I might not want them to live in
well,
those houses.
I'm going to crunch the numbers. I mean, my previous life, I was an accountant, and I think I still have my TPIM for tax preparer's identification number, But I would really, then crunch the numbers and see if I pulled out some equity, purchased a condo through Celeste, what the rents would be going for. And I know you can write off a lot of things on a rental property and see where the break-even point is, or if I'm basically just that $2,000 a month, if it's going to pay the interest on the money that I ended up pulling out from home equity. Do you have worksheets like that when you work with people?
I can run specific numbers based on your specific date of birth.
Okay. We have the same date of birth, by the way.
Oh, really?
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
No. He's 1 month. Yeah. He's going to turn a year older in September. My birthday's in October.
Okay.
But so that's also if I looked at properties with Celeste and
Yes.
actually planned this out, looked at properties with Celeste, saw what's out there that would make a good investment property. Because if that's paid in full, that's something I can give to my kids. Don't worry about if there's no equity left. There's something for you.
Absolutely.
And have some income coming in. Rents do go up. That's why I believe in sometimes owning instead of renting,
Yeah.
because when you own, your mortgage just keeps going down. While you rent, they keep raising the rents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I know that firsthand. So,
Yeah.
hey, Jim, thank you for coming in today. And
My pleasure, Justin. Thanks for
we
having
loved
me. Jeanette,
you
thanks
here.
for having me.
Yeah, and Jim, this was your second time too. We've had you on before, so it's nice to have you back as a returning guest. So,
Thanks.
yeah. So, if you want to reach Celeste Zupancic, she works with Homesmart PV and Associates. She can be reached at 209-489-7312, or she can be emailed at celeste@sellsyourhomes.com. Jim, people can reach you. Well, first of all, you're with Geneva Financial, and people can reach you at 818-723-7398. And he can be emailed at jliberto@genevafy.com. So, and again, Jim, thank you for coming on today.
Anytime, Justin. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. So when we come back, we have the Community Corner. You're listening to the Small Business Voice with Justin and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Marisol Fernandez, your certified nutrition coach and co-owner of Rooted Movement. Let's talk about how to snack smart. Reach for snacks like boiled eggs, Greek yogurt, or nuts paired with fresh fruits or veggies to fuel your day without the sugar crash. Need snack ideas to fit your routine? I can help. We're located in the heart of downtown Modesto. At Rooted Movement, we combine practical nutrition advice with movement to help you reach your health and fitness goals. So visit us today at rootedmovementmodesto.com or follow us on Instagram and Facebook to start your journey today.
Welcome back to the Small Business Voice with Justin Duncan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. Reach out to us for more information about our featured guests by texting 209-222-8846. Or you can always email us at info@smallbusinessvoicemedia.com. The Community Corner, proudly sponsored by Lightspeed Graphics, a creative media agency specializing in video and animation. To get in touch with owner Kurt Gonzalez, simply text him at 209-617-2606 or visit his website at lightspeedgraphics.com. So we have Celeste Zupancic here. She is our guest for the month. So Celeste, thank you again for being our sponsor for the month of May.
Thank you for having me.
And you work for Homesmart PV and Associates, and you can be reached at 209-489-7312, and you can be emailed at celeste@sellsyourhomes.com. I'm sure there's still a lot of questions out there about reverse mortgage because I've been educated. I've been fortunate to be educated on it by Jim and some other people too that specialize in reverse mortgages. But there's always that you talk about it, and then there's always that, well, I heard from so-and-so that, like the experts about nothing, that really don't know. They just heard something, and then people take that as a word of gold.
Right. Maybe someone years ago had a really bad experience, and they keep sharing that, which really gives a reverse mortgage a bad rap.
Their parents lived too long, and they got nothing.
Even if they got nothing, remember, the goal here is to enrich the senior's life.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or, like you said, enrich senior's life. Maybe someone, let's say if I had elderly parents and those out there that do have that, you'd love to be able to move them into your house, but you just don't have the money to put that ADU or to redo the bathroom like Justin had been talking about, with his parents. And so, there's all these different things, or finding a whole brand new property. So, there is, putting the parents in a condominium. So
there's
that
lots
they're
of
close.
different options.
Exactly. Because a lot of people, when your parents do get older, you want them closer. And the younger people that have careers, they cannot always move closer to their elderly parents. I was lucky that my mother, even though she was down in Santa Monica, when I started having more and more kids, because for those that know me, I have 7. And finally, my mom was she looked at her husband and she goes, "We're moving up to Northern California." He's going, "What, leave Santa Monica?" So, that's the whole thing, to be able to relocate and all of these things. That's why we see Celeste, we all want our parents.
Don't move without me.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yes, definitely.
So you said that people maybe had a bad experience or something like that, but a lot of things have changed since then. And like I said,
100%.
And I think a lot of it's just misinformation. Sometimes you talk to somebody and they're not giving you the accurate information. Maybe they don't know, or maybe they're just trying to make a sale. It happens out there. So, but this show is basically to say, hey, the reverse mortgages, it's an option. You don't have to take it, but it might work out good for you. So
yeah, lots of different products out there, and everybody's personal situation is different. Working with professionals can help, look into your financial outlook and help you make good decisions. Make sure that you have all the options.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing too. Like you said, Celeste, she was very patient, and your parents were saying no to a reverse mortgage. It was something that, for whatever reason, so then you have Celeste and what ended up happening? Did they just sell their home?
They just sold it. Yeah. And then they kept the equity. They never got capital gains or anything like that, as far as I know of. But yeah, they just ended up holding on to it, but when it doesn't get reinvested, I think that's a mistake too. And they didn't reinvest it. So, that's a long story in itself, but I think it's better to reinvest something, even if it's, like if it's a townhome, well, let's say you reinvest in a townhome, now you have maybe association fees on top of that. Do you sit down and make sure it's affordable for people before they make that decision?
That's one of the most important things that we do, because the last thing we want to do is help them sell their home that they were comfortable in and help them purchase something that now is too expensive for them.
Yeah.
Again, we really want to look at the whole picture and partner with other experts that specialize in seniors so that we're setting them up to enrich their life so that their life isn't stressful financially moving into those golden years.
All right. So you're listening to Small Business Voice with Justin Duggan and Jeanette Forney on Power Talk 1360 KFIV and the iHeartRadio app. We have Celeste Zupancic with Homesmart PV and Associates with us. 209-489-7312 is your phone number. And you can be emailed at celeste@sellyourhomes.com.
And you know what? When it comes to real estate, again, like I'm a proponent of don't rent, you just, that you have a really great asset. I mean, I see these stories all the time because our population is getting older and elderly parents sold their home, but their kids did not have, when I'm saying their kids, it was a daughter and her husband. They didn't have enough money for a house. So when they sold the home, instead of them getting one house, they bought a duplex. The parents got to live on one side and the kids got to live on the other side. And then when the parents passed, they rented out that other side, which ended up paying off the mortgage. So they were living for free. And I think a lot of, when they ended up later on, the parents of another person, they said, I'm not going to buy you a home. I will buy you a duplex because then the other side will pay the mortgage. Is that a good option for young people? Let's
Absolutely.
say duplex, you rent out the other side and it basically pays.
Absolutely.
You have been paying rent for $1,500 or so, and now you're going to be paying maybe for one side of the duplex. And everybody, it's funny. People go, oh, don't get rental properties. Don't go. It's just so much trouble, etc. Every wealthy person I know has rental properties.
Yeah, exactly. Actually,
Are they just hoarding them for themselves or what?
Well, I think that's the way. That's what I hear is the best way to attain wealth is having a rental property. So,
especially an owner occupied. My son's going to be 24, and he's entertaining that idea as well.
A duplex,
purchasing a duplex and living in one unit. And as a way of starting to build his wealth. I hope that I was part in educating him to, think about building his wealth in some of these different buckets. And
so really quick, I don't mean to cut off, but
no problem.
How do you protect yourself really quick on that? Like, would you go like basically you're collecting that rent, but would you have a property manager do that in your place? Is there certain things to kind of protect yourself?
I would never let the neighbor know that I own the property.
There is something to be said about that. I mean, some people are, great at managing their own properties, and others, having that property manager there to kind of be a buffer is the way to go. It's just your level of comfort and experience.
I think for me, I need a property manager.
Yeah, the thing is,
that's just me.
When you look at small claims court or, you look at Judge Judy, did you have a lease agreement? Did you explain to them? So I think with the property management company, if I were to get a duplex, yes, then I'm living in one side and then the other side, make sure what their credit score is, check into their background. Where did they live before? Here's the, lease for 1 year. Then we'll go month to month. And I can see exactly what's going on next door without having, to be the person that is collecting the rent.
Yeah.
So Celeste, again, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we got you on for 3 more shows. If you're a business owner that would like to have your voice heard, feel free to reach out to me at 209-222-8846 or drop me an email at info@smallbusinessvoicemedia.com. Let's connect and grow together. Thank you for tuning in each week, and we look forward to having you back next week. A heartfelt shout out to our dedicated producer, Mike Murray, and the general manager of KCBP, Jim Costello, for their invaluable contributions to our show. We also appreciate the hard work of our intern, Tiffany Alex, and Kurt Gonzalez from Lightspeed Graphics Video and Animation for capturing and inspiring our guests and their stories. If you're seeking assistance with digital marketing, don't hesitate to reach out to Kurt at 209-617-2606 or via email at kurt@lightspeedgraphics.com. Jeanette, thank you for joining me today.
Always.
And remember to join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. as we dive into the minds of local small business owners with even more insightful discussions. And a special thanks to our guests, Celeste Zupancic with Homesmart PV and Associates, and Jim Liberto with Geneva Financial for sharing your expertise with us. Now, let's take care of business.